Alright everyone, we start off today talking about China, specifically about the one silver lining in the lopsided relations between the US and China that could save our asses. Not under the current administration, but we're hoping potentially in the future. There will be a link in the description, of course. You can read about food self-sufficiency as the main subject of this video there. But first and foremost, there will also be a pinned comment if you're watching this video on YouTube with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. I make 2 videos a day only off of YouTube now, so they're on Rumble, Odyssey, Dailymotion, and BitChute, but they're not on YouTube. The reason I'm doing that is because there are a lot of subjects that I would like to cover in the normal sense, can't even cover them on YouTube. There's certain medical and political subjects have been explicitly labeled verboten by YouTube at this point. Well, you know, you're not going to hazard your channel to talk about it when you're getting algorithmically manipulated anyway so that you're getting half as many views on anything that's edgy. What's the point? You know, the priority creators are absorbing 95% plus of the traffic, so it's completely pointless. But they're being outcompeted everywhere else because much like getting on the internet or on early social media, they're dragging their heels on alternative tech. Anyway, we have one major advantage against China in what amounts to a new Cold War. It's not a shooting war, although there's some proxy struggles that go on. Mainly this is a socioeconomic and cultural clash. China stands for centralization, you know, the Eastern Bloc style authoritarianism, and the United States, decreasingly so because of people like Beijing, Biden, buddying with China. The Western world, the United States, ostensibly or at least supposedly stands for liberty and the concepts of the rights of man, individuality, and so forth. Again, in a much diminished fashion, but there's still hope for the West. There's never really been hope in the old world for those concepts really taking hold outside of Western Europe, simply because of long tradition. When you've got 5,000-year history and it's all a bunch of emperors and tyrants and dictators, it's kind of difficult to break with that concept. But anyway, there's one good thing that we can look forward to. The United States can feed itself. It also can supply the fuel needed to maintain that agronomic infrastructure. We're now fuel self-sufficient as well. The United States can power its own tractors and harvesters, reap its own crops, and at the very least, we won't starve. And it's diversified, and a lot of it is like corn and rice and staple grains and stuff, sorghum in parts of the South, wheat. Now, however, there's a lot of fruit, a lot of nuts, a lot of berries, tubers, and all those wonderful things, and sugar beets and everything else. All of the rudiments of your grocery store can be grown in the United States by U.S. farmers efficiently and at a relatively low cost, to the point where we could drop the cost to an even lower point, but all the farmers, they wouldn't even be able to make a living without subsidies, which defeats, by the way, the purpose, which is why we literally pay farmers to leave some land fallow so we don't overproduce. We then take a huge amount of that surplus grain, especially corn, beans and stuff, and send it to Africa to keep people from starving, causing a reliance cycle, but at least people aren't dying. In fact, we've wrecked the East African farming capability for literally several generations now. Most people don't realize that when you give people aid, food aid specifically, farmers can't compete with free, so they go out of business and then nobody knows how to farm because who would want to learn how to do so when you can't actually make a living? China, meanwhile, is neither food nor fuel self-sufficient. They have to buy a lot of Russian gas and oil. They have a lot of coal, but they're trying in vogue to get away from that. They're robbing Australia of all of its uranium for the most part, but they have diplomatic issues with them. Why do you think that the Chinese, by the way, right now are so pissed at Australia? Why do you think that they're literally rattling their swords at a major Western nation? I realize it's in Oceania, but I mean civilizationally. It's because of uranium. Uranium and minerals. That's basically it. We can provide our own food. Now, the silver lining is that China has basically taken, in the wake of China opening up as the results of Nixon policies, actually, attempting to open China to the world by saying, look, we want to trade with you. We know you're dirty commies, but, you know, you've got a lot of goods, and U.S. businesses want to invest, and take our investment, take our money, fucking take our money. We tried to change them culturally by doing this, and we succeeded greatly in economics. The problem is the Chinese have taken proto-globalism, which is literally what that is. Before that, it was American exceptionalism, arguably civic nationalism. We wave the flag, and no, you can't wave any other flag. Yes, we speak English and all that. That was sacrosanct up until the 1970s. The problem is that when we tried to transform China, They turned it around and started transforming us. A lot of the anti-free speech, anti-free expression, propagandistic authoritarian bullshit that we've had in the wake of that comes because of Chinese influence over US business firms. What we see right now with wokeness is pure China. They're trying to destroy our culture by getting people to fight one another. It's Marxism. But it's Marxism 2.0. It's not the same as yesteryear's communism. The economic system they use is more capitalistic, at least in some aspects, than in the United States. I realize that it's technically corporatism, that the government will dissolve your business and nationalize it if you step out of line. As long as you don't ideologically step out of line, though, as long as you say, yeah, praise the commie parties, Xi Jinping's a great guy, I vigorously condemn the Gang of Four and shit like that. As long as you toe the party line and don't rock the boat ideologically, you can abuse workers. You can spew out poison. You can underpay people. You can fucking rape your workers. Nobody gives a shit. You're a good Communist Party member. Hypercapitalism. You can exploit Westerners, you can exploit people in other countries. They get all sorts of globalistic trade deals that they're signing on to. That being said, the only real advantage that well, technically two advantages. We're fuel self-sufficient, food self-sufficient, and we've got a much better Navy. The third necessarily starts to wane, though, if you get a Beijing-Biden administration unwilling to actually put pressure on China. I do not believe that he will. The reason why he talks a big game but ultimately will never walk the fucking walk and actually follow through is because he's literally compromised, at least in some degree, by China. This is the case with many globalists. Why do you think that so many Western firms, Nike and so forth, will be namby-pamby about the issue of organ harvesting or anything else in China when it's actually brought up? Oh, your shoes are made in sweatshops. Oh, well, we don't want to talk about that. It's because China has them by the balls. China, at a moment's notice, can dissolve their factories, kick them out of the country, causing them to lose literally everything. The problem is that China made it so good to invest there that a lot of businesses went all in China. The problem is if 90% of all of my holdings and capacity are in China, say I've got a major shoe brand, a major beef processing brand or something, I'm like number 2 in the whole fucking world. They can cause me to lose everything, and my competitors will move in because they're still in China, build more factories, they'll toe the line, they'll take up most of that capacity, I go out of business. It is impossible for certain US firms to criticize the Chinese government. Some that do go under when they do so. The one thing we could do is start lording food over China. Threaten to, it is basically an ideological war. We could say, look, we are capable of massively skyrocketing your food prices and forcing you to reorganize half your fucking economy. We're capable of that. Enough of the tariffs, enough of the currency manipulation, enough of the pressuring US firms. We could equalize the situation. But is Biden going to do this? No. Trump is the only modern president who has actually put pressure on China. You heard very little from the Clinton administration or the Bush administration or the Obama admin about any of the problems in China. You heard a very limited amount under Bill Clinton, and this is long before the U.S. completely sold out its business capacity to China. You heard a little bit about organ harvesting. You heard a little bit about Falun Gong once in a while, or Tibet once in a while under even Bush, but not very much. It was very lukewarm, and that's for a reason. It's structural, it's economic. Food is again about the only thing that we have. What we should have done is never opened up to China in the first place. We should have gone to capitalistic countries in Asia and hyper-developed them. We should have maintained restrictions on U.S. business doing business with China. China would not be an economic juggernaut had we done that. Nobody else would have had the who else is going to bother? The Europeans? We could have used diplomacy to keep them in tow as well. It wasn't done. Globalists said, hey, my business partners really want to invest in China. Look at their rapid growth. Imagine if they got foreign investment. They wanted money. They wanted a return. So what we've got is we've got a class of extremely rich U.S. billionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires who have made a huge amount of money in China, and they're perfectly satisfied to watch everyone else basically get screwed because they don't have any national loyalty because they're globalistic in their economic framework. But ideologically, they're still slaves. You got people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars that are technically enslaved to China. And they're not even Chinese citizens. It's just that all their holdings happen to be there. What the United States should do is slowly transition away from working with China at all. And by the way, these people, longer term, China has hyper-developed to the point where it's incapable of efficiently extracting any more resources, yet it's still got a growing population and all of this shitty infrastructure, it's beginning to lose steam. But we have to put more pressure on it, and right now we don't have an administration willing to do that. We did, but unfortunately China decided to involve itself in our perfectly fair 2020 election. It's fine to talk about this, by the way. Even on YouTube you can say this, because slush funds were noted in the 90s as well as being involved in U.S. elections, and not just the presidency and Senate races and shit, because they want to make money. If they can invest $10 million in unseating some incumbent that's causing problems, they can get much more than $10 million back in the reward of not having to fight that battle anymore. China lobbies all the time. It's a major diplomatic muscle. It's also the dipole of the world. At this point, we are effectively in a Cold War with another country with enough economic and social and diplomatic capabilities to challenge us. Not military, not yet. But the problem is that if you've got the economic capacity, you can build a military capable of doing so. The Chinese are efficient at one thing: mass action. That's about all. Peace out.